Well, we're 20 minutes away from happy hour. And for those of you who stay in this room, I think it's not listed in the program, but do know that we are going to be having a reception as soon as we're done. So Jason, you're in between happy hour, so I think you made it make it quick. I do want to introduce Jason Tagasa. He leads our IT audit practice. Jason has over 10 years of experience in a public accounting in different areas. One of the good things about Jason is in that he's not just an IT auditor, but he's also an accountant. So he knows what it takes to get the books properly done. And as an auditor, he understands as to what it is that the audit team is looking for when we're performing an audit, but also risk. So from that perspective, Jason has also been working with internal audit, compliance, IT risk assurance, and financial auditing with expertise in assessing and auditing mobile network infrastructure systems, databases, and ERP applications. His focus has been with IT risk and internal controls assessments, business process reviews, SOC reporting, SOX compliance, project and program management, and disaster recovery. With that, I'll turn it over to Jason, who's going to walk us through some of the issues that we have encountered with nonprofits and government agencies. Jason?
Thank you, Roger. Those are very kind words from you. And I know it's only, we only have a matter of time before we go into the happy hour or the reception. So let's just go through the my topic for today, quickly, just very quickly. So for today, we're discussing kind of a very popular topic nowadays. And honestly, this topic is growing so fast that sometimes I'm not even prepared to discuss this. But for today, I would just like to introduce you to our topic, which is basically about cybersecurity, financial data security, and also the latest trends. Our agenda today would focus on giving you a quick but very insightful definition of cybersecurity. We will also be discussing about how has it evolved over the past 5 years. And we will be going back to 2024. We will be looking at key statistics as to what happened, especially for small and medium enterprises, and also discuss some of the real-life incidents that took place in the government and nonprofit sectors. And for the final item, we will be suggesting or providing you the best practices that you can implement internally for your organization. So first, let's define what is cybersecurity. I do believe that everyone here in the room already has an idea, even just a quick idea about what cybersecurity is. You can even give me an example as to what cybersecurity. And before we completely define what it is, let's just put it simply first. Imagine being at home at night. You lock the doors, you check if there are any cracked windows, and maybe you check if your Ring camera or your security camera is working properly. The reason behind that is basically you don't want any strangers walking in, any strangers snooping around, and even stealing your stuff from your place. Basically, cybersecurity does the same, but it is going to be for your digital life. So, to put a quick definition to it, basically cybersecurity is it refers to the practice of protecting your systems, your networks, programs, and the important data of yours from the different types of digital attacks, unauthorized access, damage, or theft. So as we go back to a much more simpler example, let's say you're in a sketchy area. I don't think you would be putting out all your new iPhone 16s, or I don't know what iPhone it is already, but you don't want to expose any of your devices outside, right? That is already implying or implementing a simple state of cybersecurity on your personal devices. While for information like the bank account details, credit or debit card information, your tax returns, or maybe even your latest pay stubs, those are going to be the types of information that are financial in nature. Given that, these these types of informations are going to be more critical. And we need to be aware that there should be a high level of control that needs to be implemented in those. And that is how financial data security is. It is basically going to be a subset of cybersecurity, but its main objective is to protect your own and also your company's financial records. Now let's go through some of the items that I really wanted to discuss with you. How has cybersecurity really evolved over the past 5 years? First is that there has been an increased threat sophistication, meaning is that cyber criminals are getting smarter. They are now using artificial intelligence or AI to drive simulated phishing attacks or even impersonation. RAAS or ransomware as a service has apparently become a thing. What happens is that there are cyber criminals that are going to be paying someone to access or use their ransomware code or program to lock up someone's data. There is now a growing attack surface. This means that we are now being exposed to the different types of risks surrounding cybersecurity. Having adopted the work from home, hybrid work setup, or also the remote work setup, we are now being more exposed to risks. Just by connecting into your home network or maybe a public network as well, this exposes you to a lot of different threats because they are commonly less secured compared to the networks that we do have at the office. Also, by the companies shifting to the cloud platforms or the cloud services, which is actually a very useful tool versus keeping the data on-premise, there are a lot of new risks that are being opened up by using these types of services. Next is that there has been a shift in the attack tactics, wherein, as mentioned a while ago, cyber criminals are getting smarter. Instead of plainly just using the different malwares to infect your laptops or your devices, a very common trend has been the ransomware, as I've mentioned, simulated phishing attacks, and even an impersonation. A key example here is that a cyber criminal impersonating maybe your CEO, using a very similar email address to him or her, and they will be asking you to maybe access a specific link where it leads you to a very malicious site, where we need to always be updated as to what are the newer ways that cyber criminals are gonna get us. So leading into those changes that I've mentioned, there has been now a heightened regulatory compliance or regulatory pressure from the digital laws. So laws like GDPR or the Global Data Protection Regulation, the CCPA or the California Consumer Protection Act, and also the CPRA, which is the California Privacy Rights Act, has been really implemented over the past few years. These data protection laws aim to give individuals more control over the data. And this would require businesses to also handle their clients' data with higher responsibility and also transparency. And finally, we do have a lot of key trends to watch. First one is all about the zero trust architecture. The zero trust architecture's principle is basically never trust, but always verify, which means that no employee or no individual should have an automatic access to everything. There should be a proper authorization and approval first before granting that individual a specific company site or also a data repository. We should also expect that there will be a growth in terms of employee targeted attacks because hackers really perceive the employees as the weakest link in a company. We really need to focus on providing the sufficient trainings to those employees, especially those that are handling the sensitive data. Next is automation. As I mentioned a while ago, cyber criminals are using AI, but we can still use AI to protect ourselves. We can use different tools that are already available everywhere to basically protect ourselves and also reduce incident response times. A popular AI-powered tool is actually CrowdStrike Falcon, wherein it uses AI and behavioral analysis to detect and stop threats on endpoints like our servers and our laptops. And finally, we should expect to see a greater usage of or greater leverage to our third-party vendors, wherein we are able to share or mitigate the cybersecurity risks. Now we look back at what really happened during 2024. As you can see, these statistics paint a very clear and alarming picture. Just to start it off, around 94% of the small and medium enterprises has apparently experienced already a cyber attack. This may come in different forms, for as simple as a phishing attempt, also an impersonation, a password guessing. There's really a lot of type of attacks that could penetrate a single organization or a single entity. And to add on to that, 83% were assessed to be unprepared or will be unable to recover if ever a critical cyber attack happens to them. To add on to that, it was assessed also that 91% of these entities still don't have the correct or the proper cyber liability to cover for any financial damages that might occur. So aside, and to add on to these statistics, 80% of those SMEs still don't have a formalized written cybersecurity policy, which means that clearly we are being very vulnerable to these threats. An effective cybersecurity policy should clearly define the acceptable use of the client's information, your IT assets, your information technology, basically. It should also include the roles and responsibilities of the employees that are going to be using those. And to add on to that, it should also outline procedures about incident response, password management, access controls, and also regular trainings. This policy will eventually bring out a culture that really prioritizes security. And finally, we do have 50% of SMEs who has already experienced a major setback, wherein their critical business operations has been affected due to those cyber attacks. And unfortunately, some of them closed their business because of those. So now let me go into our next topic, and let me give you a quick example of what are the types of incidents that occurred during 2024, first in the government sector. So back in February of 2024, the city of Oakley in California has experienced a ransomware attack. This forced some parts of the city government to be shut down temporarily. There are the critical services like 911 and also the emergency response, fortunately, hasn't been affected. But some of the less critical functions like planning, permitting, and also the public records have to be taken offline. The city even partially activated their emergency operations center, which clearly shows how seriously they took it. What stood out was how the city also acted. They brought in different cybersecurity experts and also kept residents informed just to make sure that they are constantly updated. Phone systems and the other non-critical functions that I have mentioned were fortunately back the next Monday. And this clearly shows that if you are prepared when an incident occurs, this would really allow you to get back on your feet quickly, if you're in a high-pressure situation. Now let's go into the next example that we have, which is specifically for Ascension Health in Missouri. So back in May of 2024, Ascension Health, which is basically one of the biggest nonprofit health systems in the US, was hit also by a ransomware. This disrupted its operations across multiple locations in different states. The breach began May 8th, wherein they were able to detect that there was an unusual activity in their networks. Hospitals had to take their electronic health records, or the EHRs, and also their client portals like MyChart offline. Clinical teams have been forced also to work in a pen and paper system, which means that their critical functions are also operating entirely manually. And unfortunately, some ambulances have to be diverted in different locations, and some scheduled procedures have to be delayed just to make sure that cybersecurity experts are able to correct or mitigate and even remediate the damages that have been done. And fortunately, by around June of 2024, the crucial services began returning. And by December of 2024, it was estimated that around 5.6 million records between patients and employees have been affected. It was also reported, they also reported a net loss of $1.1 billion for the fiscal year, and they attribute it mainly to the cyber attack that occurred. This incident actually teaches us two lessons. First is that even one of the biggest healthcare systems, like Ascension, could really be stopped by a ransomware. And number two, we clearly see that ransomware is really evolving nowadays. Now it involves data theft and even extortion, compared to what we are familiar before, that only the data are being encrypted. And as we have discussed already all the negative stuff, we now go into the different types of best practices we can recommend that you also implement yourselves. First, it's all about the employee training and training and awareness. Since I have mentioned a while ago, it is perceived that the employees are basically the weak link at the company. So it would be a core control for the different companies to allow employees to attend different types of trainings about threats and cybersecurity. This would help employees spot phishing attempts, avoid unsafe links, and also understand the basics. There are tools like KnowBe4 and Cofins that would really help a lot. You can use this also to run fake phishing attempts, just to make sure that the employees are always alert at all times. And finally, you can use those to make sure that all the campaigns, or basically the trainings that you're gonna be launching, are being complied to. Number two is all about implementing strong access controls. We should know and understand that not every employee should have access to everything. We should only put an assignment to them, or a specific role to them, based on what they need for their jobs. And that is applying the principle of least privilege access. If possible, we should also use tools like the role-based access controls, or the RBAC, and also perform the regular review just to make sure that all these roles are up to date. And considering that we are going to review these permissions, we should never forget to also include the IT administrator or the super user roles in our reviews. Next is about the regular software updates and patch management. So hackers really love outdated systems because basically they are very easy to exploit. That is why staying on top of the updates for your applications, your operating system, and even your plugins is very critical. We can also set automatic updates wherever possible just to make sure that this process is going to be hassle-free. Fourth is about the data backups and recovery planning. Backups are going to be your safety net when something goes wrong, like ransomware, as I've mentioned, and also system failure. Store them securely, preferably off-site and also on cloud if possible. If a backup doesn't work when you need it, it is just as bad as if you don't have any backup at all. So make sure that aside from really keeping your backups, you perform irregular testing just to make sure that you're able to restore those data when you need it. Next is investing in cybersecurity tools. Now, I know this sounds expensive already, right? But I hate to break to you, but you really don't need a high budget or a massive budget for IT to implement these types of cybersecurity tools. There are tools like Bitdefender or Malwarebytes that could serve as your antivirus, Cloudflare for web protection, and Microsoft Defender for your endpoint security. The key here is to mix different tools so that there will be no single point of attack that is going to be a really weak point for hackers to exploit. And just by implementing the tools that I've mentioned, you're already increasing your capability to protect your data. 6 is about the third-party risk management. Even if your own systems are already secured, your vendors might be the weak link. Many breaches happen through these service providers. Think about cloud service providers, your payroll services, and also your IT contractors. We should do our homework and ask our vendors what are their cybersecurity practices before really engaging with them. Also, just because something is outsourced, it doesn't automatically mean that it is already out of your hands. So if there are any service organization control reports that you can check, you should also add that diligence for you to make sure that everything is working effectively year on year. Next is about seeking independent cybersecurity assessments. So getting an external cybersecurity assessment might be one of the smartest steps that we could do. These assessments bring in a fresh set of expert eyes just to make sure that your systems are being taken a look at, your policies, and your overall risk exposure. They are designed to identify gaps, and after that, these assessments would be able to offer you recommendations that would fit your needs. Many assessments follow the established frameworks like the NIST, CIS controls, and the ISO 27001. This frameworks helps your business align your practices with the industry standards. Firms like ours can also evaluate your controls surrounding your data privacy, your cybersecurity maturity, and even your third-party vendor management. As a matter of fact, it is always part of our financial statements audit to also perform an IT audit wherein we're able to review the IT general controls, the IT governance, and also the risk and compliance piece, as we really see a lot of value by providing our clients recommendations and eventually them implementing those. You really don't have to wait for any compliance pressures or any incident for you to do this. Think of it like doing a health check, but it is going to be for your business. It will also serve as a great credibility boost, especially if you're working with clients or partners that really put a high importance to cybersecurity. So these types of regular assessments could eventually lead into a IT roadmap, which will continue the ongoing improvements. And finally, cyber insurance. Cyber insurance helps businesses manage the financial impact of the different cyber attacks, data breaches, and also system disruptions. It would typically cover the costs for business interruptions, legal expenses, regulatory fines, and the like. For small and medium enterprises that may not have a lot of resources, this would really serve as a lifeline. So when shopping for a policy, it is always important to look at what would be your coverage, what types of incidents are going to be covered. You'll also want to check for your coverage limits. And also make sure that you're aware of the different preconditions that your policy, what are you getting for your policy? Because some also require for you to have the basic cybersecurity controls implemented. And to sum it all up, these best practices will give you different types of benefits, basically. It will help you continue to protect their data and also earn the public's trust. Next, it can also help maintain the continuity of the services even during cyber attacks. And finally, it can continue, or it can provide you the compliance that you have for the different regulations, which would ultimately help your funding. And before I end this discussion, I would just like to leave you with a final thought. So in 2025, cybersecurity isn't just a luxury anymore. No matter what type of business you are in, what size or what sector it belongs to, you should consider that cybersecurity is already a core business function. Training your employees, improving your data security, and even performing regular assessments could really go a long way, especially if you're doing it correctly. So we must not really wait for any incident before we act. And we should always remember that the price of doing nothing could really far exceed the cost of being prepared. To put it simply, it's better to be prepared and safe than sorry later. That is all. Thank you. So with that, I would like to open the session for any questions. I know we're already excited with the next session, but please feel free to, yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, actually, we do have some clients also that has the same setup. So engaging with that type of services would already be sufficient just to make sure that the risks that you're really seeing, especially those high importance or high priority, are being addressed by engaging with those vendors. Anything else before we go over to Gil? Okay, I think that's it. Again, thank you everyone for your time.
Jason, thank you for a wonderful presentation. Obviously, when you're trying to get done, it's always a little tough to say everything you want to say, but you did a wonderful job, as did all of the speakers. How about a little hand for all of the speakers? Believe me, they work plenty hard. I see them at the office, and it was a big effort. It was a big effort for us, but again, we wanted to make sure it was worth your time. You know, your time is valuable. You can have a chance to go to a lot of different events, and we make sure that our presentations were meaningful. There's an evaluation form that's on your desk. We'd appreciate it if you'd take time to just give us a few comments. We're always trying to make it better. We want to make it more interesting, and want to make sure the time is right, so we kind of shortened it this year a little bit. At Roger's request, Roger's in our office is known as Mr. Happy Hour. He's always thinking when and where and how often can we have happy hour. So we know that's right in front of us. Hopefully all of you will be able to stay and relax and enjoy yourself. Any questions that maybe we didn't answer for you or you didn't ask, delighted to take time to do that. And of course, just a chance to say hello. Again, thank you very much for attending. We appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you next year.